Hello, welcome, and thank you for watching this month's Tarot Talk. I'm intuitive reader Bryan Stafford from Stafford Tarot, and today's Tarot Talk topic is going to be about full year reflections. But first, before we get into that topic, and to give some time for some viewers to join me, I'm just going to be talking a little bit about what's new and upcoming in 2024. And then we'll get right into that discussion topic. And then after we're done discussing that Tarot Talk topic, I'll be offering 6 free short readings to anyone who shows interest in the chat during. So at any time, if you're interested in those receiving a reading, just let me know in the chat and I will add you to my list. And then we will get into those free readings. Now, if you're watching this from my website, staffordtarot.com, and you're just watching for the sample readings, feel free to skip ahead about 20-30 minutes into the recording, as I will be offering those free readings towards the end of the broadcast. Now, each reading takes about 15 minutes to get through, and so that's why I cap it to 6 short readings, because adding 6 readings to the broadcast extends it to about an hour and a half, and I try to keep it at about a 2-hour length. I think that's reasonable. Let's get right into that. What's upcoming and new for 2024? Well, first of all, I'm going to be on holidays from December 23rd till January 7th, 2024. During that time, though, there will be limited services available. I still have my subscriptions going, plus some remote services available during that time. Gift certificates are still available. They're redeemable at markets, festivals, and events, as well as for private in-person sessions and remote sessions. Feel free to check that out on my website, staffordtarot.com. Lots of information there, including about the subscriptions that are available. All the regular in-person services will be continuing after January 7th, 2024. I'm really excited about some of the things coming in 2024. For example, I have some exciting collaborations with Tributes, Gifts, and Back Online. We're going to be having some exciting new products coming in the new year. Those are going to be Stafford Tarot products. For example, we have an intuitive gift basket idea that we're putting together. So this would be like a gift basket for to give out as a gift, full of candles, incense, crystals, and things that you might appreciate for divination or for doing readings, as well as intuitive reading envelopes. So those are going to be a series of envelopes that you intuitively choose, and inside would be a 3-card reading for you personally that you can read in the privacy of your own space. And then I will also be offering Learning Tarot starter kits, which will include like a new tarot deck and a cleansing tool, perhaps a deck pouch with some reading cloths, etc., stuff like that to get started. So I'm really looking forward to those materializing. And in 2024, I will be working on completing my own personalized designed tarot deck. So lots coming up. I'm really excited about that. Watch the website for those special announcements and more coming in 2024, including some upcoming events in the winter, spring, and early summer. All the events that I'm registered for so far are listed on my website if you're interested. Some of that includes the... Now, before I get into that, actually, I should just mention there will still be a full moon oracle pull on December 27th, 2023. So that will still be available on my website during that time. And the new moon oracle will be coming up on January 11th, 2024. So those will still be available on my website and through my social media as well. And so the next Tarot Talk will be on Tuesday, January 16th. And that is going to be on the topic of cartomancy with playing cards. I'm looking forward to that topic. I've been able to do that for quite a long time using just regular playing cards for divination. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about that and give an example on how that's done. And then on getting into the new year, some of the events that I'm looking forward to, I have some Mystic Witches Nights markets coming up in February, on February 23rd, and then on March 23rd and April 13th, consecutively for that time. And that is all leading up to my event in April. On April 30th, I'm doing a Spirit Talk online event. This will be happening over Zoom. It's going to be a private event, and so it will not be recorded, even though it's going to be broadcasted on Zoom. It's going to be enclosed to the members or viewers only. This is a paid online event. During this event, we're going to be looking at some grounding examples and some individual mediumship practices, as well as some skill building techniques and exercises for those who are interested in doing mediumship for themselves. And then the event will get into a group reading example with everyone involved on the Zoom call. So I'm really looking forward to that. It'll be extra exciting. I've done a lot of mediumship one-on-one through Zoom, just through private sessions. And so this will be my first hosted group event online. And so I'm really looking forward to getting this started. I did have an event like this a couple months ago, but it wasn't as group oriented. It was more individual one-on-one taking time. And so this is going to be much more group interactive. And so I'm really looking forward to that. So check out the information. It's all available on my website for the Spirit Talk online event, and keep watch for those event announcements for those markets and festivals that I'll be getting into as well. So any questions whatsoever, feel free to put them into the chat. I'm just going to take a look here and make sure I haven't missed anything. Absolutely, Lindsay. I see that you're the first one to request a reading, so I have you on the list as getting started. And Elizabeth, I have you in second. And anyone else who's interested in a reading, just let me know in the chat. I'm sure more may join as time goes on. I'm capping tonight's readings to 6, and so I have 4 more spots available. Thank you, Jennifer. I will definitely add you to the list. And so I'll be going in that order. I'll start with Lindsay, then you'll move on to Elizabeth, and then we'll do Jennifer. And then there are 3 more spots available if anyone's interested. But first, before we get into those free readings, I'm just going to talk about tonight's Tarot Talk topic. And that is about full year reflections. I chose this topic at this time of year simply because of the time of year that it is. It's December. We're getting into the longer nights, the shorter days. The solstice is right around the corner at this time of the recording. and leading up to the holidays and Christmas and Yuletide and then into New Year's. There's a whole lot of reflection that can happen at this time of year as we get into the darkness. If we think about the past experience before we understood about planets and the sun and the moon, etc., people may have thought that the world was in danger, or, praying that it would come back, that the sun would start to return. And so there was a lot of create a lot of joy and spread a lot of cheer at this time of year to get through the harsh time, the darkest days. And so I like to focus on that at this time of year. And I do a lot of reflection myself, where I look at things that have happened for me in the past year leading up to now and what I'm headed towards into the new year. And so I'd like to just give an example on how that can be done with a regular set of tarot cards. Now, this is the Rider-Waite deck with Smith imagery. It is the more common and standard tarot deck that is used and well known. And most of the symbolisms for other tarot decks branch from this deck. And so I always like to use this deck. This is my personal deck that I first started reading tarot with, and then I expanded onto other decks. One of the things that I like to explain during these lives, in case you're a new viewer or in case you're unaware, I'm a trans-dimensional reader. So that's a little different from some standard tarot readers that you'd see out there, because I will focus on dimensions of several decks within one reading session. So it's well known for me that within one private session, I can use, 5 to 7 different decks, all to give different perspectives and insights into the one question or topic. So I'm just going to focus on an example of a year reflection. Now there's 2 ways that you can do this spread. A year reflection is a circular spread of 12 cards. Each card represents roughly a full month phase. Now, interestingly enough about this, the way that this works is it's not necessarily based on calendar month, it's more based on moon phases. It's just the way that my focus is throughout looking forward or looking back. And so I'm going to focus on that. And so it'll be between each moon phase that we get an example from the cards as to what to watch for or what to reflect on. And so I'm just going to focus on my own reflection. And I won't be able to go through month per month because that would take quite long. It does take me an hour to do this kind of reading on hand because it is quite large, and each month can be expanded on further for even more knowledge, information, or advice, or insight, or perspectives. So I'm not going to get that far into this kind of complicated spread. I just want to show an example on how tarot can be used for this kind of reflection. And so I have my year reflection drawn out. Now this is looking back. So I'm reflecting on the year that's passed. So right away I can tell that the first card that I pulled out is the month that has just passed. So this would be from mid-December to mid-November. The next month is looking back. So it's sort of like looking back into the wheel of the year. And so I could take an example portion of the year. For example, let's just pick let's say September. In September, there were a lot of choices that I made, and those choices had to be reflected on for the future. And so I had to really understand the outcome of the actions I was choosing between before I made the choice. And I can definitely relate with that because in September, I made a lot of decisions and changes moving into the year. Because I was coming from the summer, the structure of the summer had ended. My children were going back to school. I was moving into a new realm of my work. There was a lot happening and that I had to decide on. So I can definitely relate with that. When I look back even further, I could pick any area and reflect on what was happening during that time. Especially when I look as far back as, say, this card, for example, kind of stands out for me in this area. And when I look back at when that was, for example, in the structure of this, it would be more towards the spring. There was some disruption in my household that caused for some unhappiness. And absolutely, we had a whole lot of issues to deal with during that time. So I totally understand why that card has shown that way. And as I go through the reflection of this year, it helps me to understand and reflect what each card could represent in that month span time. It allows me to pull that out from within, analyze it, and either heal from it, ground from it, be proud of it, perhaps. There's so many different ways that it could be looked at that could cause a type of reflection. Now, this can be done as well, looking into a reflection for the future in terms of what you're in for as well. And I'll give another example of that. I'm just checking if there's any questions. Oh, good question, Jennifer. Your question is, do I find using one deck is too limiting? Absolutely not, actually. One deck can fulfill everything that you want to do within tarot. The reason why I like to expand further using other decks is I have an appreciation for oracles, and I also have an appreciation for getting a perspective or different insight from different angles. So, for example, the Rider-Waite-Smith deck often gets right to the point. It's the solid messages of tarot. Sometimes artists or tarot people who design tarot decks, they will change it slightly to configure for a more balanced or more not so aggressive message sometimes. A really good example of that is the Heart Chakra deck. The Heart Chakra deck follows the same symbolisms within the Rider-Waite-Smith, but it uses more calming. It uses more from the perspective of what you need for yourself, as opposed to situations you may be dealing with in your energy. And so that's an example on how they can be a little different. If you're curious on how different decks can be different, I have covered that in a previous Tarot Talk live event. All of the previous recordings are available on my website, as well as some of them are available through Facebook, but all of them are available on my website. There's a button right near the Tarot Talk section that says previous recordings or previous broadcasts, and you can list them, and it'll list from like newest to oldest, and you can see the topics that were discussed during that time if you're interested. I did talk about, there's a couple of tarot talks where I talked about the differences within decks. One of them was the differences between oracles and tarot, and the other one was the differences between different types of tarot. And both of those topics may be of interest in knowing just the differences between the decks. So in using those different perspectives, I'm able to relate that to a reading in terms of a topic or question that's been asked. Yeah, I wish I had time to give an example of that. And so I'm going to continue on with my example of doing a forecast reflection. So this is a full year reflection looking into the future. This can be really helpful if you're making a plan, or you have some sort of goal that's going to take a period of time, say a year or so, or up to a year, because it can give you an estimate or an insight into how that may be achieved, or how long that may take, or what could be involved, or the where the hurdles lie as you proceed. Now, and one thing to keep note of is that within tarot readings, any future forecasts are not set in stone. Sometimes tarot will tell you what you need to hear in the moment to get to where you're going. Other times, tarot will give you the what the future may look like from this point on. An example I like to give of that is if someone asked me in a tarot session if they were going to win the lottery, and I pull out cards, and they pulled out a card that said they were in for money, and that they didn't have to work and it's coming to them, and another card said absolute fortune and good luck, and they were like, yay, I'm going to go out and get that lottery ticket, and they only buy one lottery ticket when they usually buy like 5. They've lowered their chances in winning. If they weren't told that in the tarot reading, they may not have changed the way that they played the lottery, and they may have gotten the 5 tickets instead and continued their full chance of winning. My point is that the choices that you make between now and the future can change your origin or change your direction. We all have complete control over our free will, and nothing is destined to happen. We have to make that happen. And so tarot, it can be really good at analyzing the ways in which we can achieve our goals. Okay, so The card that I started with would be from the next full moon and on. And so the next full moon happens at the end of December, just after Christmas, roughly. And so I'm going to be looking at that as mainly January's card, February, March, April, May, etc., and through the year. Now, when I look ahead at the forecast being predicted, I can already see here that in February, I have this tough choice coming. There's going to be something in February that I'm going to have to make a choice without having all the information. So it's going to be like blindly deciding something and then find out if I'm right or wrong, if I made the right choice or not. That's being told to me by the image itself. You can see the blindfold on the person is really standing out for me. And that tells me right away that there's going to be something missing, or I'm going to be held back from information. Swords are about heavy thoughts and intellect, and that's where I get a sense that this is a choice that needs to be made. I'm not going to have all the information that I need to make the choice, but I'm in the position to make the choice. Now, if I look ahead into, say, March, I can see that with the Eight of Wands reversed, everything's just going to get thrown up in the air, and I'm just going to have to do things as they land, and it's not going to happen in the sequence or the order that needs to happen. That can often be some overwhelm or frustration. So, I mean, where my year is headed is looking, no, I wouldn't say grim, but it's looking like it's beginning with some struggles and a lot of things to figure out as I head into the new year. Now, I do have a lot of new things being initiated. I have a lot of contracts being created, a lot of agreements being designed. And so that could be part of that. But I do feel like there's going to be something that I'm unaware of, because I feel like I have all the information I need to make the choices. So as I move into the new year, there could be something there that I'm unaware of that I'm going to be presented with and have to make a choice and not have all that information. As I move through the year further, let's just look at at the end of the summer. I can see an overwhelm happening at the beginning of the summer and feeling like something was unfair, or wrong towards the end of the summer. And so again, that's sort of a common thing that happens with me during the summer. My schedule gets flipped right upside down for those 2 months that my kids are out of school, and then getting things back on track and then focused into the new year when it starts again in September. I think I'm just going to go through that similar struggle again. Obviously, I didn't learn from the last time if I see it here in my future forecast reflection. So maybe that will help me to plan better. I can now see this challenge ahead of time and decide, okay, I'm not going to learn so what can I apply? How can I learn from the mistakes I made from the past? That's going to allow me to refocus, analyze that for myself. And that can be very helpful as well. Now, heading into September, October, I have everything I've wanted and put together. And so I feel like even though my year looks like it's starting off with these struggles, there's this disruption that's happening. I'm moving into this chaos and overwhelm and injustice feeling, and it's going to get better. It's going to then, everything just seems to be coming together towards the end of my year. Like I said, I could go through every single month. And what I could also do is then extend further on each month, asking for advice on how to get through these situations. And so in terms of the end of the month, in terms of the summer, the disruption that I talked about, the overwhelming, getting through the injustice feeling, and finding the what's going to help out of that. Right away, I can see that the Queen and Kings are the Queen and the Knight are side by side here, telling me that I need to just get down to those emotional decisions and make the choices. And I need to believe in myself more through that summer. Perhaps I need to be more encouraging of myself as a parent, or setting the structure in place. But the Star card only appears for those who have that ability in them, the light is shining, and when it's reversed, it means that I may not be connecting with that inner light. So that's very encouraging for me, considering that that's the advice that came out over the that straining summer period. Does that make sense? Are there any questions? I'm just going to make sure I haven't missed any messages. Apologize. I'm just looking through. I thought I saw someone ask for a reading. I have Lindsay, Elizabeth, and Jennifer, and I'm just going to continue looking through here. Apologize for taking a moment. Hi, Shanine. Would you like a reading? Is that what? Yes, please. I think it is. I'm going to add you to the list, Shanine. I'm just going through the messages. If I haven't mentioned you and you request a reading, just please let me know. Just re-request. So far, I have Lindsay, Elizabeth, Jennifer, and Shanine. I have 2 more spots available on the list. So if I've missed you, just let me know in the chat. Sometimes, I should have mentioned this towards the beginning of the broadcast, that sometimes the messages have trouble appearing. Thank you, Joanne. I think you're the name that I saw earlier. Yes, okay, thank you. Thank you, Elizabeth. I caught that. I thought that. So I have 1 more spot available if anyone's interested. And what I was saying about the messages is that sometimes the messages take a little time to appear by the time you've typed them in and by the time that I see them. Hi, Anne. Definitely. And that's everyone on my list. So I have my 6 free readings available for when we get started. Thank you so much for that, everyone who got involved. So sometimes the messages take a while to come up, and I have had it in the past where some of the messages didn't even appear. I didn't know about the messages until after I rewatched the broadcast to make sure I didn't miss anything, and I'm really glad I do that, because sometimes the messages don't show up during the broadcast, but show up during the recorded of the broadcast. And so I always overcheck, I always overlook. And if anyone has requested a reading and I didn't notice it, I do try to get a hold of that person and offer a free reading in some way, just to make up for the fact that you lost your opportunity during the live. I just try to be fair that way. So if at any time anyone did not receive a reading and you were hoping for it, just reach out to me. I do have other free reading opportunities available. For example, I do have my monthly draws where I pick 1 in 5 winners to receive a remote free short reading. So the difference between a distant reading and a distant remote reading and a remote reading is this would be considered kind of a distant remote reading. There's only one-way communication. I'm just getting your name and topic and giving you a reading, and there isn't a lot of opportunity for interaction one-on-one. I consider that a distant reading because of that limited interaction. Whereas, and that's similar to a subscription. If you get a subscription from me, it's like a pre-recorded reading based on your question or topic, and that gets sent to you at a specific time or date of your choosing. Whereas a remote reading is one-on-one broadcasted, so like Zoom one-on-one recording or teleconferencing, so that there's interaction between us. There you can ask questions, I can give answers right in the spot, and you get to see the cards as they're laid. It's personal, it's private, and it's interactive. Whereas, obviously in person is the most benefit because it's one-on-one in person, and there's that energetic connection that can be enforced. So if anyone has any questions about full year reflections, which was tonight's tarot talk topic, just let me know. I'll be watching in the chat for any comments or questions at any time. I'm looking forward to next month's tarot talk discussion, which I'll be talking about using plain playing cards. for divination, doing cartomancy with regular playing cards. That's what tarot cards is. It's a form of cartomancy. Cartomancy really means doing divination with cards. Hi, Anna. Thanks for your question. I'm going to write that down. And when I get to your question, when I get to your reading, I'll be able to focus on that question. So stay with us on the broadcast. If you're later in the list, it will take me a bit of time to get to your reading. Like I said, each reading is 15 minutes long. And so if you're fourth on the list or fifth on the list, you have an hour wait from here, roughly. So just keep that in mind, okay? And so I'm going to start with Lindsay. Lindsay, if you're available still on the call, just let me know that you're there. And if you have a specific topic or question you'd like me to focus on, or it can be left general. Quite often when readings are left general, the messages that need to be heard will show up anyways, but I like to leave it up to everyone if they want to try and refine what they're looking for from the reading. So it can be based on a specific question, or it can be based on a vague topic. Either way, the cards usually present what you need to hear. Focus on work. Definitely, I will do that for you, Lindsay. So I always start my readings with a one-card impression pull from the Morgan Greer deck, and that's just going to tell me where you're sitting energetically in the moment, and then I will move to another deck where I will focus on your question or topic. If these are ready. And Lindsay, what I get for you is the Four of Blades. It did not come out reversed. The card looks like this. I'll try and hold it still without a reflection. And it basically talks about like going within, being a bit introverted. Four in numerology is about grounding, and swords are about heavy thoughts and intellect. And quite often when we mix heavy thoughts and intellect with grounding, we go within, we go internal with our thoughts, and we go probably protective, or we work things out internally instead of on the outside. And so what this is really saying is that you're working within, internal, in the moment, and that's just in your energy. Now I'm going to focus on your question using the Morgan Greer deck. I really like using this deck because it offers the same symbolisms very closely to the Rider-Waite Smith deck, only the graphics and imagery is more colorful, they're more relaxing to look at, and so I like to use them for readings to give to others. I usually use the Rider-Waite for readings for myself just because I'm used to that deck the most. I've had it the longest. But I always like to give readings on a more comfortable level. That's all right, Lindsay. No worries. I feel like your reading is ready here. So interestingly enough, you have two higher arcana cards and a suit. And the two higher arcana cards are speaking together, Lindsay. And so I'm going to talk about that. But I'm going to talk about the suit first. It's really interesting. It is the Nine of Pentacles reversed. What this often means, Lindsay, is that you're in the process of making your life to look together in the way that you would like it to see fit for you yourself. The card normally looks like this, and you can see here this person has like their fancy clothes, and they're in their exotic garden, and they have their exotic pet, and they seem to have everything that they would want in their life that they imagine. And that's what this card is always about. Now, when it's reversed, it doesn't mean that you're not going to get there. It just means that you're not here yet. You're on your way to there. You're still in the process of putting together the things in your life that you would like to see fit for yourself. Now, the two cards that are beside that are really interesting. The first card that I'm going to focus on is the Empress card. This is a higher arcana card. It is a more important message out of this tarot reading, and it's really suggesting about sitting in some sort of responsibility, sitting in the responsibility of the Empress. quite often this is the type of responsibility that involves others. It's like taking care of others, or your approach of putting others ahead of yourself in a way. But this is really about sitting in some sort of responsibility. So because I'm looking at in terms of work, I feel like there's this responsibility that you have to sit in. Now, the High Priestess reverse card is probably one of the most frustrating cards that can come out in a tarot reading. Because when it's reversed like this, it really means that if it told you what was going to happen involving your work, you wouldn't take it on, or you wouldn't do it. And so in order to get to your goal, you can't be told how do you get to your goal. You have to learn for yourself how to get to your goal. You have to walk the journey to get to the destination. If you don't walk the journey, you won't learn what you need to get to the destination. So if you're just told how to get there, you'll skip the steps and the lessons that would have guided you there. Does that make sense? I feel like for this card and these two cards being together, I feel like there's this responsibility, and as long as you take that responsibility, you're going to guide yourself where you want to go. But if you knew what was involved ahead of time, you'd be like, no way. I'm not doing that. So just know, try not to be overwhelmed by the options, because the Empress card is upright. You have what it takes to sit in this responsibility. It's just, it's going to appear like, unknown until you get there. It's like the expression that I quite often use. The journey is the lesson itself. If you don't take the journey, you won't learn the lessons, and then you won't end up where you're meant to go, where this responsibility is going to take you. Now, I'm wondering how I can extend on this further, Lindsay, given that it's involving work, and I'm sure there's external influences happening around this as well. I'm going to ask my Zen deck for some insight on this, if that's all right. Awesome. I'm glad that the Empress gives you some confidence. I think it should. I think you have, like the Empress is saying, that you're sitting in that responsibility. If it was reversed, it would be like you're not wanting to sit in that responsibility. Like this is not what you're wanting to do or able to do. And so just know that it being upright tells me that you are like, you're not in you're not out of your uncomfort zone. It's about, just as long as you're responsible and you follow through with that responsibility, it's going to lead you in the right direction. That's a really good question. Thank you for that, Lindsay. I was just looking back in the messages, and your question was, do I find it difficult to give readings to myself? I don't, and that's actually how I started learning. I learned how to do tarot by giving myself readings. I started giving myself readings at an early age when I was given this deck when I was 12 years old, and I figured it out by the time I was 15. It took me a few years to grasp it and figure out how to do it. And then I was giving myself self readings for quite a while before I started giving others readings. I think I was a little hesitant to give readings to others at first, simply because I see it as a big responsibility and I take it very seriously. And so once I felt ready and I had some friends who were willing to be my sitters, and then I was making profound readings for people, and the ways in which I was helpful and creating grounding and peaceful and cleansing and just clarity for some people was why I continued and just have been giving readings since. It's actually how my draw was created, because I created my draw when I started giving out too many free readings and had to really back off and allow people, like, I'll give you a chance for a free reading. And then it worked and turned into a business. So let's get back to your reading. Thank you for that question, though. That was a good question. So the three cards that I want to show you, and this is advice in terms of your work and interacting with the energies around you. I'm going to show you all three at the same time, and then I'll go through them one at a time. Just feel appropriate to do that. I'm going to start here. This is the morality card. It's really about the, this would be similar to the Queen of Swords. Heavy thoughts and intellect, and really getting into that throne to make the decisions in the best interest of those around you. And that's really what this card's representing, which is why it's represented as the morality, doing what's morally right. Quite often when it affects other people in the way that queens do, it can be about more of a caring, nurturing ruling, as opposed to a very strict or authoritative one. Now, I get the sense that this is about healing for you, and that if you need to look at this in terms of healing and what you need for yourself. I also get the sense that it's about others healing too, and I'm not sure what exactly that means. I'm unaware of your profession or occupation, so I don't know if healing is involved in that. It feels like mental healing as opposed to physical healing, and it just feels, the hands are what's standing out for me in the card itself. And so that's where I feel like it's just like a hands-on approach, and that it involves like that type of healing. The higher arcana card is the more important message that's come out here, and it's really about completion. You can see here that it's shown depicted as a puzzle being finally put together with the last piece. And I feel like for you, Lindsay, when we're looking at your work, I feel like your work is like the puzzles have been coming together, the pieces have been coming together. And so I think your work is like the missing piece. I think it's something that you probably need for yourself, or something that completes something in some way. Could be a connecting piece of you, in fact. Does this make sense for you, Lindsay? Can you relate to the advice that's come out of this based on how this has come out? It's a tricky situation because in the reading itself, it's telling you that if it told you, you wouldn't do it. So you need to sort of guide yourself through this and learn the lessons as you go. And then when I ask how to interact with the other people, or the influences around you, not the other people, sorry, but the influences around you, I see this as being like, just have confidence. Look at this like you have everything you need for this, the missing piece. Making the right choices, just doing what's important to you, the morality of it, and that healing. Just don't let it negatively affect you. I'm glad. Thank you for that confirmation that this makes a lot of sense, Lindsay. I feel like it's kind of hinting that you're on the right track, but it's hesitant to tell you that. um, and I'm not sure why. I think it may have to do with the path that you're on. You know, like if you can gain that confidence and move forward, you're going to realize the importance of where you're headed. Okay. Thank you for that feedback, Lindsay. Yeah, it's not necessarily telling you what to do, but giving you sort of the insight or perspective on where you're headed, um, or what could be involved. I think what this is really saying is that just do what's important to you in terms of, you know, feeling important and mentally important to you, like intellectually, and look at this like the pieces coming together and not breaking apart. I hope that that's helpful. So thank you for letting me do your reading for you. I'm going to move on to Elizabeth now. Elizabeth, if you're ready and available, just let me know. And if you have a specific topic or question you'd like me to focus on. Oh, you're very welcome, Lindsay. I'm glad it was very helpful. Thank you for that feedback. I appreciate knowing that I'm on the right track. Hi, Lindsay. Thank you. Hi, Elizabeth. Thanks for letting me know you're there. General reading. Absolutely. I can do that. I'm just going to start with a 1-card impression pull telling me where you're at. Elizabeth, for you, I get the 8 of Pentacles. What this often means when it's reversed like this is that there's a lot of work that needs to get done, but it's not getting done. So it's almost like needing to get to the work, but something's holding you back or preventing you from moving forward. Let me know if that makes sense in your energy in the moment. And I'm just going to start with a 3-card pull with this deck, and I'm going to focus on just generally what you need to hear for yourself. Okay, Elizabeth, 5 of Wands has shown up, and what this tells me is that there's some sort of choice in the actions that you're taking. 5 in numerology is usually about a halfway point or a choice, and this is about the actions. And as you can see here, your actions are up against other people's actions, and it's almost like a struggle or like a competition almost, but it doesn't feel like a competition. But that's the way it's being depicted in the cards. What's standing out for me are the number of hands, not necessarily the wands itself. And so I feel like it's a situation where there's too many hands involved, almost like that expression, too many cooks in the kitchen. Let me know if that makes sense to you, Elizabeth. Now, the next card is the Higher Arcana card, and I'm just going to go in the order this way in which it calls to me. This is the Wheel of Fortune reversed. And so what I feel like what this is saying, Elizabeth, it's not saying that there's anything unlucky or that there's unfortune, but that it's going to take a lot of time for you to get through this and to see some of the positives out of this. Now, anytime this card comes up, it's really about taking the time to achieve your goal and having that fortune come to you. When it's reversed like this, it doesn't mean that you're not going to achieve that goal. It just means that there's not so much of either there's not so much of a wait or there's not so much of a path. So that can mean one of two things. It can mean that this could be coming a lot quicker than you think, or it could be unexpected in the way that you get there. So just keep that in mind, okay? What's standing out for me is the actual spokes itself, and that's where I feel drawn to say that it's more about the way you're headed there, not necessarily the amount of time it's going to take. Now, this card being reversed often represents to stop saying, what if? This, I like to call this the what if card when it's this way, because the 4 of Cups, 4 is about finding grounding and stability in numerology, and cups are emotion. And when we try and find stability in our emotions, we often look at what we have and what we don't have and what we could have. And that often reflects as what if. I have this, and what if I had that? And so when it's reversed, it's basically saying, like, stop saying what if. You may be doing this a lot, or this could be in your energy in terms of what you have, and then trying to analyze, well, what if I chose that differently? What would I have then? Or like, there's something that just keeps going on in your mind, I think. Given that it's beside the Wheel of Fortune and that I feel like these two cards are speaking side by side, I'm wondering if that's part of the cycle that keeps repeating. Oh, thank you for that feedback, Elizabeth. I see you laughing. Haha, spot on. Okay, I really appreciate that feedback, just knowing that I'm on the right track here. How can we extend on this further? I think it may be good to look at what you need for yourself in terms of what this journey is about for you, given that it seems personal. I mean, anytime the what if card comes out, it's really about personally what we have and what we want. The Wheel of Fortune card being reversed, and then the struggle that's happening. Oh, I feel like I'm transiting. So I'm going to focus on this deck. I'm just going to ask this deck for advice moving forward, and this will be from the perspective of what you need for yourself. I feel like it's already ready. Okay, 3 cards have come out. Really interesting cards. They are all the same suits, and they are all heavy thoughts and intellect. And so I really think what this is saying for you is that the best advice for you moving forward is to really give this a lot of thought. Really think about how this affects you individually. And I see that in the cards. I'm going to talk about that. I'm just going to go in the order that they came out. The first one is the 8 of Intellect. It's the helpless and hopeless card. What this really means is you can tell here that this person is walking towards the light. They are not helpless and hopeless. They're being guided. And so this is really about just, you should follow your guides and not feel helpless and hopeless. Know that you are not helpless and hopeless, that you have a strength that you can stand in. And as long as you're walking towards the light as depicted in the card, that is what is important to focus on. 8 in numerology is all about success and finding the success for yourself. And so success in intellect is often about making a plan, looking towards the future. Don't look back, look forward. I really think that's what that card is implying. Now, the next card that I want to talk about is the 5 of Intellect. This is often, like I said before, in numerology, 5 is usually about a choice, and it's about making the right choices. And this is the win or lose card, meaning that it could go either way. And the choices that you make are going to determine whether you lose or whether you win. And so I think what this is really saying is just stand in your power and make the choice that's right for you. Now, the 4 of Intellect reversed. This is often, it is called the Just Breathe card. It often looks like this. And it's really about like taking your time, grounding, just relax, just breathe. This card often comes out for somebody who may be overexcited or overstimulated or just like very aggressive in their actions. And it's like saying, take a step back, relax. This card's reversed. And so what it's really saying is that you may have already been relaxing, or you may already be in this sort of phase, or you're trying to do this. And so I just think that it's speaking to like, make sure that you're grounded and that you do move forward. I do see some sort of action that's needed in this advice to move forward, because the 5 of Intellect is often about that choice moving forward, making some sort of intellectual decision. And so I think that's really the connecting piece in this advice moving forward. I think you need to start something or get onto something, or walk towards the light. Don't allow yourself to be hesitant or held back, or not make a decision of some kind. Does that make sense for you, Elizabeth? Can you resonate or relate to that? And is there anything in here that didn't fit or didn't make sense to you? I see your comment there that this part here made sense. I'm wondering how you feel about the advice. I'm just going to give a moment for your message to appear, or if you're responding. I'm wondering if I can extend on this just one more time. This seems like there's some heavy decision that you're up against. It all aligns very well. Okay, thank you, Elizabeth, for that feedback. I think I'm right about extending further with just one more card. This is my Sacred Destiny deck, and it works really well at pinpointing the portion of life path that you might be walking. And I think it might be helpful to look at that, given that this feels like such an important decision moving forward. And it also feels like you may feel like things are kind of up in the air, even though it's an important decision. So this might help us understand why. Okay. This may help you understand why. Healing Chaos card. Sometimes we have to go through the chaos in order to find the healing. You can see here the contradictory message being displayed with a tornado surrounded by butterflies. So it's really about, like, sometimes the destruction is needed in order to heal from it or move on from it. Sometimes the chaos itself can be what leads to healing. And I think that's what this card is sort of representing, that you're learning to heal from the type of chaos that you're going through. Oh, thank you so much for that I'm right on the nose as well. I'm glad that you can relate to this message, Elizabeth. I do hope that this message is helpful for you, in that if you can create a perspective that what you're going through is for a reason or a purpose, that might give you more confidence and security moving forward, knowing that you're making the right decisions as long as you're doing what's important to you. I hope that that's helpful. Also, just keep watch of anything in the image that does resonate with you. If butterflies mean something specific to you, or if tornadoes or bad weather means something specific to you, or anything that stands out in this card at all, just take note of that, okay, Elizabeth, and listen to your own intuition in terms of what that's telling you. Quite often, the deck speaks to my clients or sitters that way, which is why I mention it. Thank you so much for letting me do your reading for you, Elizabeth. I'm just going to decharge and put the cards away. And then I'm going to move on to Jennifer. Jennifer, if you're available and on the call. Oh, you're very welcome, Elizabeth. I hope that was helpful. And Jennifer, if you could just let me know if you have a topic or question you'd like me to focus on. Or otherwise, it could be just left general. Just to go through the list again, to reiterate, after Jennifer, I have Shanine, then Joanne, then Anne. Hi, Jennifer. Thanks for your message. Ready to go. Perfect. General, I'll definitely do a general reading for you for sure. Okay, so I always start with a one-card impression pull from this deck, Jennifer. She's going to tell me where you're sitting energetically in the moment. Wow, I feel like they're ready. How could they be ready already? I'm going with it. I'm going with it. They feel like they're just, here's your message. Like, Jennifer, I got the 9 of Swords reversed. Normally the card looks like this, and it represents the heavy thoughts that wear you down and keep you up at night. These swords are all the different heavy thoughts, so much on your mind that it's just keeping you up at night. You're having trouble going through it. When it's reversed like this, it means that you're getting through this. You're working through the swords. There's less and less swords the more you work through it. And those swords represent heavy thoughts and intellect. And the more you work through them, the less is going to be heavy on your mind. The less is going to be keeping you up at night. Does this make sense to you, Jennifer? I feel like you're in the process of relieving yourself from this worry of some kind. Now I'm just going to focus on your general question. Yes, okay, thank goodness. So you resonate, you relate to that, you know where that's coming from then. Now, Jennifer, the one thing that I notice is when I'm trying to connect with your energy, the cards are sticking, they're kind of grumbly against each other, like they don't feel very happy in going together. And quite often that can be just a reflection of something that's happening in your energy. In some way, you're kind of working against yourself. You could be your worst enemy in some ways in terms of what this reading is about. Okay, so just keep that in mind, because it is coming out in your energy as I connect and try the cards with that intention. Okay, 3 cards have come out. 1 card is a higher arcana and 2 suits. I'm going to work at the suits and work towards the higher arcana, okay? I feel like there's a balancing being done, and this balance is between 2 aspects of your life. What's standing out for me most is the waves in the water. And so I feel like this is about an aspect of life in terms of the direction you could be headed in. These choices and this balance could steer you in directions. And it feels like they're in contradiction with themselves. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jennifer, if that makes sense to you. But it's just a feeling I'm getting from the card itself. And what's also standing out is the brooch on his shoulder that holds up his cloak. I think this is really speaking to like support, making, feeling confident in making this balance happen. The balance is usually about health or finances, given that they're pentacles, and they are standing out as coins for me. And so I do feel like this is a financial balance of some kind, two aspects of finances, perhaps. Quite often that could be like home life and work, or two jobs, or something of that regard. Oh, okay. As you just explained there, you just retired. So finding that balance between what used to be and what is, perhaps, or there could be something else that you're balancing, two aspects in your life currently that has to do with finances. Now, this is about creating structure in your home. This is the Four of Wands. And wands represent the actions that we take. And in numerology, 4 is about grounding and finding structure. When we take action in terms of grounding, quite often it's about our home. It's about where we find grounding in ourselves. And so this, I like to call this the happy home card. It's really about taking action to create a happy home. Now, the adversary card has appeared. This is the devil card. It does not mean evil or like the Christian devil. What it really represents from this card is some sort of adversary that you're up against. Now, this adversary isn't always a person. Sometimes it's a bad habit, or it's a distraction. Sometimes we can be the adversary if we're against ourselves. And I was getting a little bit of that energy in the way that the cards were coming out, charging them. So just keep that in mind, Jennifer. If you feel like you're the adversary of some kind, this can be one of the harder cards to flip around, where you've defeated that adversary, if it's something within you. And I am getting that sense because of the way that the star on the imagery is just standing out for me in the forehead of the adversarial image. I think that this is more about you than it is about someone else. When I look at this reading as a whole and I bring it back to where you are now, I feel like there's a relief that's happening here, because with this being lighter and lighter, you're removing these heavy thoughts from your mind. It's not going to keep you up at night. And then in terms of your reading, there's creating balance and creating a happy home, and you have this adversary to take on. And so I feel like this leads to a good place as long as you defeat that adversary. I think that this is the determining factor here. This adversary is going to flip your cards around if you don't flip the adversary. If this card flips around and the adversary is defeated, it means that you've gotten over it, you've moved past it, and you can put it behind you. If you don't flip this adversary card around, these cards are going to flip around, and your home is going to become unstructured, unbalanced, or perhaps you won't be able to create that balance that's needed out of these two aspects of finances in some way. So just keep that in mind, okay? The adversary should be focused on and defeated in some way. And I do feel like the adversary could be more within you than being up against another third party or another person. Let me know if that makes sense to you, Jennifer. I'm just looking at how to extend on this further. Given some of the feedback that you've said and the way that the cards have come out, I'm wondering if it would be helpful to use my heart chakra deck for you as well, Jennifer, just in terms of what you need for yourself, especially if you are considered the adversary. Then this might help in terms of how to get beyond that. Makes 100% sense. Okay, thank you for that feedback, Jennifer. I appreciate the confirmation there. So I'm just focusing on your reading from the beginning and charging the cards here with that intention of asking advice moving forward. And this will be from the perspective of what you need for yourself. So a high arcana and two suits. I'm just going to go in the order that they came out. This is the 5 of actions. It's really about making a choice, and the card is the feeling alone card. It's really about choosing for yourself what you're going to do for yourself in terms of the actions that you're going to take. And these actions are going to determine whether you feel alone or not. So it's about taking those actions. It's about improving yourself in some way or another, or keeping things the way they are. I see a lot of change in this card. Particularly what's standing out for me is the journey in which the character is traveling, and their lantern is particularly my focus. And when the lantern stands out for me, it's usually the bright light inside someone that they are trapping. This could mean, Jennifer, that you are needing to connect with that bright light that's inside you a little more. I think you have this guiding light. What's also standing out for me is the moon. And the moon doesn't normally stand out for me on this card because it's so like off in the distance. That's standing out for me a lot. And so I think you have an intuitive sense that you can follow. Not only is the moon standing out, but the lantern's standing out. And so you have this bright light inside you that you could allow to guide you, and trust your intuition on that. The next card is the 2 of emotion reversed. And it's the spread your wings card. It normally looks like this. And if it came out like this, it would be suggesting for you to find your place in the universe and, you know, spread your wings and soar and find your grounding. And I think you know what you want for yourself. And I think that's why it's reversed like this. I think you have a feeling of what exactly you need, or exactly where you want to go, or what you would like to have happen. And then it's just about making that happen for yourself. It's not necessarily about proving yourself, or, you know, if it was this way, it'd be like, spread your wings, prove yourself, you know, prove you can fly. It's really about like, you know, you can fly. What do you want to do with it? And I think it's more about proving something to you than it is others. And that comes out in the Blossom card. The final card I want to talk about here is a Higher Arcana card. It is the more important message out of this reading, and it's the Blossom card. It means that this is a transition for you to blossom, to find your inner comfort and connect with that inner power, and just wear it on the outside and be in that power. It's about blossoming. Blossoming for you yourself, like developmentally and spiritually. I think what this really says, Jennifer, is that I think you're on the right track. I think as long as you look at defeating this adversary, there's so much potential here. I'm wondering if the potential would be here without the adversary. I think the adversary could be steering some of this in some way, even though that sounds contradictory. Okay, that makes sense to me why you'd have the blossoming card and you're finding your way, and not having to prove yourself. As you said, you're finding out who you are, and can finally be who you am. Absolutely. Where do you see the adversary? I would watch for this, though, in terms of what you're up against. And just know that it just seems defeatable. I do hope that that's helpful, Jennifer. Is there any other questions that you have before I put away the cards? And then I'll move on to Shanine, if Shanine's available. I'll just give a moment to see if any more messages come up. I see. Sure. Okay, so that's where you see yourself being the adversary. So just watch for that. I think that has something to do with the balancing that may need to be focused or maintained. Thank you for that feedback, Jennifer. I'm just going to decharge and put away the cards. Hi, Shanine. Thank you for letting me know you're there. I'll absolutely do a general reading for you in just a moment. I'm just going to cleanse and clear the cards. Oh, you're very welcome, Jennifer. I'm glad that was wonderful. Awesome. I like to be helpful. And Shanine, I'm almost ready for you. Just to go through the list, after Shanine is Joanne and then Anne. Okay, Shanine, I'm now connecting with your energy and charging the cards with that intention for a 1-card impression pull. Tell me where you're sitting energetically in the moment, and then I will move to your general reading using another deck. I'll do a 3-card pull similar to what I have tonight. Now, Shanine, I get the Justice card reversed. Now, when this card comes out reversed, it can sometimes mean feeling a bit injustice, or that you've been wronged in some way, or that there's something that's happened that you feel like may not be fair, or may not be right, or may not be just. What's standing out for me in the card is the sword that he's carrying. The card normally looks like this. And what's standing out for me is the sword. Swords in tarot represent heavy thoughts and intellect. And so I just feel like there's some heavy thing on your mind in terms of this injustice. Let me know if this makes sense, Shanine. I have a feeling that it's going to be connected with your reading. So I'm just going to pull 3 cards. Oh, hi, Letha. Thank you so much for that comment. That's very kind of you. You understand? Okay. I'm glad you understand what that's talking about. Now, the 3 cards that have come out for you are really interesting, Shanine. You have 2 pentacles and a rod. I'm going to focus on the pentacles and work my way to the wand. Which one to start with? I feel like they're speaking together, and so I'm going to speak together from that perspective. The 2 cards that are speaking together, one's reversed, one's not, and so I feel like it's a little bit in some indecision. But the 2 cards that are speaking together are the 8 of Pentacles not reversed and the 3 of Pentacles reversed. The 8 of Pentacles means that there's work to be done, that you have to get to the task. If it was this way, something would be stopping you from getting started. So just know that you seem to have what it takes to get started. It's just a matter of getting going. Now, there's also a reminder here that you're not the student. If it was this way, it would mean you have things to learn. I like to call this the student card. But it's reversed, meaning that you don't have things to learn in this. You are not the student. You may be able to look at yourself more as the teacher than the student. And it's just a matter of getting the work done. So it seems to me you know what you need to do. You have everything you need to do it or to figure it out. It's just a matter of getting to it. Now, the Knight of Rods is often about that exact thing. Knights are the action takers in the tarot structure. Rods are actions that we need for ourselves. Quite often, when the action taker is involving action, this can be strong, needed action. And it's about making the decision in terms of the actions that you're taking. I feel like the action, the Knight of Rods is really telling me that you are like getting on the go, and that you're going to get this work done, and that you're not the student in this. And so I see you as being involved in some sort of project, or there's some sort of goal. There's definitely a goal involved here. Does this make sense for you, Shanine? I'm wondering how to extend on this further. I'm just looking at my cards here. There's a lot that needs to get done, and I think you know what needs to take, and it's just about getting started, and I think you're already in the direction of that. I'm going to ask my pagan deck for some advice on this. I'm just moving forward, looking at some insight towards the balance that may be needed for this. Okay, that makes sense. Thank you for that, Janine. I think that this would be a good choice for you then, this deck, in terms of finding the balance of what you're interested in what you're dwelling in, compared to like balancing that with other aspects of your life. Now, 3 cards have come out. They are 2 wands and a cup, and I'm going to talk about that. The first one is the Two of Cups, and the Two of Cups often talks about finding your own place in the world. I think in order to move ahead in what you're hoping to do, I think you need to find balance in that. You need to understand yourself and where you come from internally. It's really saying to get to know yourself better, find your place in the world. And so I think you're doing that. As you said, you're working on this new area for yourself. Now, the Five of Wands reversed. 5 represents in numerology like a halfway point, could be could go either way, and wands are often the actions that we're taking, and everybody has their own opinions, everybody has their own actions, and it's really about what you decide for yourself, and that you are at a choice right now where you can either go back to where you started or you can continue on to your destination. Now, the Four of Wands, not reversed. And I feel like what this is really saying is that you can probably initiate this and find your grounding. It's about creating a connection. It's about what's important to you. And it's being depicted as a ceremony, almost like bringing people together, creating grounding in their family or in their home, and having that being celebrated. I think this is a comfort zone for you, actually. I think this is something that you could be moving into that could be improving you as a person, and that's why the Two of Cups has come up. And then this indecision of whether you're going to continue or not, or how you continue, rather, feels more appropriate. I think you have what it takes to do this, Shanine, given how the cards have come out. You just have to get to the work, and just keep in mind that you're not the student in this. You know what you're doing. I hope that this was helpful for you, Shanine. Thank you for that feedback. I do see, yes, that this does make sense. Do you have any questions about the way this has come out? Let me know. I'm going to start decharging and clearing the decks. Oh, you're very welcome, Shanine. Okay, good. You're welcome. Thank you for that. So Joanne, if you're still on the call, let me know. I'll do your reading next. And then after Joanne is Anne. So thank you so much, Anne and Joanne, if you're still on the call, because you've been waiting the longest for your reading so far. I know you requested it earlier in the night, and so you've been waiting for the past hour or so. Hi, Joanne. Thanks for letting me know you're here. I'm going to just focus on your 1-card impression pull, Joanne, and then I'll move to that deck where you'll have a topic or question to focus on, or it can be left general. So just let me know your preference there. And Joanne, I get the 4 of Swords. It did not come out reversed, and so I feel like for you, Joanne, you're going internal, you're going within. This is often called the introvert card. It's about all these heavy thoughts that you have to think about, and instead of on the outside, wearing them on the outside, they're in your actions, they're in your, like, what you do, in your decisions. This is more like internal. You're analyzing, you're focusing more on it. I feel like there could be something that you're contemplating in this. What's standing out for me is his hands being put together in the way that this person is laying on the memorial bed, I guess you could say. And I think that's just speaking to like hopeful, like going internal and being hopeful. Let me know if you resonate with that message, Joanne. I'm just going to move on to your general reading here. Oh. Your energy is interesting, Joanne. When I'm connecting with your energy and charging the cards, I feel like there's maybe like you could be more confident in yourself. It's not necessarily that you're against yourself, so to speak, but that you could be more confident. I think the cards are just a little bit rough in their shuffle, and I'm wondering if that is reflectant of the energy that I'm charging them with. So 3 cards have come out, really interesting. We had very similar messages for this type of reading earlier. So I find this fascinating that it's sort of reiterating. There's this judgment that's happening. And quite often when it's this way, the judgment could be more internal than external. If it was this way, it would be like judgment coming from around, like you feel judged by others. So just know that this could be more like self-judgment, or that you could be hard on yourself in some way. So just keep that in mind, Joanne. You want to make sure that you're not hard on yourself, or that you're not being too hard on yourself, I should say. Now, this is about not creating balance. And I find that really interesting. When we avoid creating a balance, quite often it can mean like you have a focus on one of these things, or that trying to maintain something or keeping it intact, not just creating a disruption of some kind. And so I feel like the balance for you is sort of protecting something or keeping something together in some way. And then the Page of Pentacles reversed. This is often meaning that you're held back from moving into a direction in terms of health or finances. Not only is the coin standing out for me, but the beret in his hat is also standing out for me. And that also speaks to like prosperity and status. And so I feel like you're unable to move into a direction in terms of these areas for some reason. Doesn't mean you won't, Joanne. It just means that when you figure out what's stopping you, or you resolve this, whatever's in your way, this will flip around and you'll be in the direction in terms of what this is representing, this prosperity. But in the meantime, it looks like this. It's just not getting on the go yet. Doesn't mean it's going to, but something could be preventing you from moving forward in the meantime. Let me know if this makes sense to you. When I bring it back to where you are now, I feel like this is something that could be heavy on your mind, considering that you're taking it and going within. I'm wondering how I can extend on this further. It does seem like a personal journey. Thank you for that confirmation that this makes sense. Given that you could be being hard on yourself, I'm wondering if I should move to my heart chakra deck again, in terms of asking it for advice in terms of what you need for yourself. That may give some insight in terms of why or how that you could be being hard on yourself, or how that may be able to be worked on. Okay, so 3 suits have come out, and I just feel like they're speaking together. And so I'm just going to go card by card, and then we'll look at how they're speaking together. They are all ones of different suits. And so it's all about empowerment and spiritual development for yourself. So I feel like the advice that's being said here is to really do you. Look at this as a developmental path for you. There is a whole lot of spiritual growth happening in where you're headed in this. Look at this in terms of new vitality. You know, you can make music out of something very simple and plain. It's really saying to change your outlook. Look at it in terms of this new vitality. this is an emotion card. And so I feel like usually when there's emotional development happening, it can be a realization of some kind. This is the one of embodiment of what we need for ourselves, and it's love abounds. And so quite often, because this is about spiritual development and independent growth, I feel like you need to love yourself, that you need to have love abounds for yourself. And the more that you love yourself, the less judgment you may have on yourself in terms of what's shown up on the table here. And then the one of action. Usually when we take action for what we need for ourselves, for that spiritual development, it can mean strengthening bonds. Strengthening bonds with yourself, I feel like, is more important. Usually the trees stand out for me as connecting branches, and that would say to me that there's maybe someone you could reach out to, strengthen the bond of someone else. But what's standing out for me is the lone person in the center. And so I feel like the bond that needs to be strengthened is actually with yourself, Joanne, that you need to strengthen the bond with yourself. Learn about yourself. Find your strengths. What have you been through that you can celebrate? What are the things that are accomplishing for you? I think you need to take time to do some self-reflection and show that you are important, you're special, and you're talented in your own ways. Take some reflection and find what those ways are. Like I said, they are all ones in the advice moving forward. And so this is really about independent growth and spiritual development for you alone. And I think that this speaks really well in terms of where you're headed. I hope that makes sense. Oh, makes sense. Okay, thank you for that message, Joanne. You're very welcome. You're very welcome. I do hope that this is helpful. I'm just going to cleanse and clear the cards. And then Anne, if you're available. I'm glad. You're welcome, Joanne. Oh, now, when I was clearing the decks of your energy, Joanne, I had two cards that flipped over, and I try really hard not to ignore flipper cards. I just feel like they're important messages. And the two messages that came out reversed are the Just Breathe and the Joy and Stability card, both reversed. And so I really think what this is really saying is these cards speaking together in the way that they came out is really speaking to, like, don't look at this like it has to be enjoyed. You may have to go through some hardship for it to get better. And because they're reversed, I feel like you may have already gone through some of that hardship. And so now is the time for you to look at what's better. And so I think that was just a message that you needed to hear. And so I was just wanting to make sure that that gets out, because the cards flipped out those cards last minute. And I feel like that could just be important information needed, as the cards may have thought so. I always feel like messages, when flipper cards or jumper cards come out, it's like messages that need to be delivered under any circumstance. I did do a previous Tarot Talk live topic on jumper cards, if you're interested in knowing more about that. Okay, thanks, Anne, for letting me know that you're there. Sure, I'll focus on that. I'll first focus on a one card impression pull telling me what's sitting in your energy in the moment, and then I will move to this deck where I will focus on your question, which is about a romantic relationship with a specific person and when that may materialize. Now, the Sun card reversed came out for in your energy in the moment. And so I feel like this is really important. The Sun card is all about stepping into our power and healing, self-healing. When the cards like this, we're in the process of healing. We're in the process of that, stepping into our power and realizing it and healing from it. When it's reversed like this, it means that you're approaching, like, healing is needed. And so I think you need to focus on the healing that's required here. There could be something, given your question, there could be something from your past that you need to heal from in order to move forward. There could be something that you need to learn from in your experiences, perhaps, that would allow you to heal, and that would give you a better experience. Once this card's flipped around, you'll be sitting in that healing. And so I do feel like this card is completely flippable. It's just a matter of you going through the process and working through this healing. I also get a sense that you're already doing some of this healing, because what's standing out for me most is the sun itself. Oh, I see. You're relating this to a specific situation. Absolutely. If that is meaningful for you, do that. I think there is potential here for healing, even if the healing isn't happening yet. So I'm going to focus on your question now, even though this is in your energy in the moment. And I'm just focusing on that romantic relationship and when. Okay, now a higher arcana card has come out, and two suits. These two suits are speaking together, even though they're different suits. And so I find that really interesting, but these two cards are speaking together, and I'm going to just talk about them together. One of them is the Three of Cups, and the other one is the Four of Swords. And where I find this interesting is this one is about no longer being introverted, coming out of your shell, so to speak. All these heavy thoughts that were holding you down are now allowing you to come out, and you'll be able to share those thoughts on the outside. And you have something to celebrate. You have something you can communicate that is exciting. That's what this card represents. It's the Three of Cups. Three in numerology is often about communication. And when we mix emotion with communication, it can be something to celebrate. The card is depicted as sort of three friends getting together, sharing drinks, getting grounded. And I feel like there's something that you have been internal about that you're now on the coming out, and that can be celebrated. Excuse me. Now, in terms of when, I feel like that's what's being approached here. This is the Temperance card. It's about finding balance. It's about turning something negative into something positive. I think the more positive you can be, the quicker your approach is going to be achieved. And I think what this is really saying is that if you can turn this negative view into a positive one, you may appear more confident. You're going to catch the eye of someone else as opposed to searching them out. Now, this was in terms of a specific person, and I feel like there's a balance that needs to happen first. That would definitely be something that needs to be balanced out in your comment there. Absolutely. I would listen to what's being said around. If this card came out reversed, it would be like negative communication, like gossip or rumors or things that may not be true. When it's this way, it's usually about facts, things that are realistic, sometimes things to celebrate. Usually it's about things to celebrate or be happy about. So I'm wondering if that is part of what you've said there. Right. I think you're going to want to focus on this card, the Temperance card, in terms of that balance, getting the information you need. I'm going to look at this further in terms of where you're headed. And I'm going to focus on your impression of the significant other that you mentioned. I'm going to use my Ethereal Kin deck. This deck often is really good to use for like personalities of people, and I just want to get a sense of where he's at, if that makes sense. Now, this is not from the energetic perspective of him. This is from your energy, but I'm curious if there's something in your energy that can answer this question for us. Interestingly enough, we have another Three of Cups and a Knight of Pentacles and a Four of Wands. I'm going to work my way to the Three of Cups. I feel like that's the more important message. I was trying to get the look at this from the perspective of your perspective of this other person. And I get the Four of Wands. I feel like the other perspective of this other person is that they are also looking for a happy home. They are looking for structure in their home and making changes to that. And you can see that here. Four in numerology is often about grounding, and wands are about the actions that we take. And so when we take actions in terms of grounding, it's about creating foundation in our home. You can see here that this frog has found the perfect place to be. Sheltered, private, secluded, protected. The Knight of Pentacles is often about taking action and getting in that action. Pentacles is usually about what we need for ourselves in terms of health or finances. And I feel like this is just speaking to his focus. You have an impression that his focus is about taking action in terms of Pentacles. So he could be busy making money. He could be focusing on his health. He's got other things going on as well. Now, here's the part I want to focus on. In your perception of him is the Three of Cups reversed. Now, the card normally looks like this, and the card is depicted as, three koi type fish swimming in harmony together. When it's reversed like this, it's sort of like the opposite of that. It's like you need communication to swim in harmony together and in synchronicity. There has to be a lot of understanding with each other. When it's reversed like this, it can mean the opposite of that. So like there's misunderstandings, there's communication breakdown, or there's deception, or things like rumors, gossip, like what I said about if that Three of Cups was reversed, and that's what we're getting in your impression of his energy. I think there's a conversation that needs to be had, and that's going to help you balance this out. I think what the cards are really saying is be upfront, perhaps. Take action, create that stability, and look into that miscommunication. I think it may be just something that you want to raise with him if you're really concerned. Because the cards are showing up this way, it's not answering the question. It's certainly not clarifying the concern. What it seems to be doing is giving the perspective that you need to move forward into this, to look into it further, to resolve the communication conflict that seems to be happening here. I would take this with a heads up, to be honest, given that the two cups, one reversed and one not. In your reading, the cup is upright. In your impression of him, they're reversed. And so that seems to be the one contradiction out of all of this. His focus is on the actions in terms of what he needs for himself. He's creating a better home for himself, and there's this miscommunication. Yeah, if he's not answering or if he's avoiding communication, that could be why this is reversed. And it could be more of a warning sign than anything. I'd use that as a red flag, and to be honest, and I would just try and clarify that for yourself. When I look at this reading and I bring it right back to where you are in the moment, I can understand why you could be held back from this healing. If you feel like this situation is what's holding you back, absolutely. Just know that when you resolve this for yourself, this card will flip around and you'll be in that healing process. The one thing that I want to point out is I think it's important to mention what does show up on the table, but also just as important to sometimes mention what doesn't show up on the table. And so I have wands, pentacles, cups, swords. Every aspect of your life is being affected by this in some way or another. And I think that's really important to point out. Every suit is on the table. I also want to point out that with one higher arcana card in the reading itself, excluding your impression pull, I really feel like this is about finding your own power and where you fit in the world. I think that romantic future that you're talking about or questioning, Anne, is really going to depend on if that communication can get cleared up, which is where I see the conflict happening. If this means that he's being dishonest, obviously you don't want to get into a romantic relationship with someone who's not going to be upfront or honest or truthful, just my opinion. But I think you want to clarify this first, because in your energy, the cups are upright, meaning that you feel like you have something to celebrate, and it's your impression of him that changes that. I think you'll want to be careful with that Three of Cups being reversed. I would move forward with caution. I think that's what's being said here. I'd like to expand on this even further. I'm going to look at just a really deep message that you need to hear from my Witch's Wisdom deck. This is one of my favorite decks, and so I'm just going to focus on your reading as a whole and pull one card from this deck and see what just needs to be heard from deep within. Hi, Gail. Thanks for your message. Unfortunately, I've reached my cap for tonight, and I will be ending my broadcast shortly. If you're interested for a chance to receive a free reading, visit my website, www.staffordtarot.com, where I do have a lot of opportunities for free readings coming up, including a monthly draw for a chance to win a free remote reading, short reading, and that happens over Zoom, so it's more interactive than my Tarot Talk Live. And also, there's a 1 in 5 chance of winning. So if you get involved in the draw, just let me know you'd like to get involved. I'll include you in the list. And if you're a winner, I will then contact you and arrange that reading with you. Now, as I was doing the poll, 2 cards really stood out for me. And so I'm going to look at the original message, and then I'm going to look at the extra message that I felt drawn to as well. And this is for Anne. And Anne, in your reading, just to give you that what you need for yourself, it's the 4 of Water reversed. This is about finding grounding in your emotions, and that they're disrupted. And so I think what you really needed to hear in this is that with your emotions being disrupted, it's going to be hard to have that communication. Now, the other card that came out is the Craftsman of Earth reversed. What this is really saying is, I think what it's really saying is be cautious moving forward. If it was this way, this is like the Green Man card in the aspects of this deck. And quite often it can mean like stepping into your power, following your nature, following your instincts, doing what's right for you. When it's reversed, it's kind of saying hold back and make sure your instincts are in check. Make sure that you're doing the right thing for yourself. Just guarantee for yourself. And so it's really saying approach with caution and be sure that this communication isn't disrupted, or this foundation that's being created in your emotional process that you're going through, that it's not being disrupted. So thank you so much, Anne, for letting me do your reading for you. I do hope that this was helpful. I think the real choice is up to you, and that's really what the deck is and what the cards are saying. It seems hesitant to give you the answer. I think you may know the answer, and it's just directing you to that answer. So I do hope that that's helpful for you. Oh, good. Thank you for that. That it was helpful. I appreciate that. And you're very welcome. So thank you so much. Thank you to those who joined me on the Tarot Talk live event this month. Like I said, the next Tarot Talk live event will be happening Tuesday, January 16th, 2024. It starts about 8 o'clock, similar to tonight, Eastern Standard Time, of course. And you can just connect with me on my Facebook, facebook.com/bryantarotreading. It'll bring you to the Stafford Tarot page, and you can click on the event, and I will go live. If you show interest on the event, you will be notified when I do go live, and then you can join earlier and get in on the list. I do take people on the list for free readings as they come up. So the first 6 people that show interest are who get the free readings. I apologize to those who didn't get into the list if you showed up later into the live. Please check out my website, staffordtarot.com, where I do have other free reading opportunities available. And as well, just a heads up that even though I will be on holidays from December 23rd to January 7th, there are some limited services still available. So check that out on my website, as well as the full moon and new moon oracle polls will still be available. And if anyone's interested in the gift certificates, or purchasing subscriptions, or looking into some remote services, all that information is also available on my website, www.staffordtarot.com. So I really appreciate seeing everyone tonight. I'm always happy to be helpful, which is why I offer these free readings out. Thank you so much to those who received free readings from me tonight. For more information on my services, like I said, my website's always available, my Facebook page, and also you can connect with me directly. My website offers that option. There's a let's chat or send a message, or I think it says contact me. There's a floating button that appears when you go to the landing page, and you can click on that and send me text messages live directly. And I usually get back to people as soon as I can. Hi, Apexa. Thanks so much. I'm doing well. I really appreciate seeing you here. Unfortunately, I was just finishing up, and I've already given the free readings. I will write you down, though, to add you to my next draw in January if you're interested. It's a 1 in 5 chance. All that information's on my website, staffordtarot.com. Thank you so much, everyone. Take good care. Happy holidays. And I look forward to seeing you all into the new year.